Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Why Teacher. In today's episode, I want to discuss a comment that is usually shared on parent-teacher meetings when a teacher wants to highlight a child's need to participate more in the classroom to improve their scores. So why is your child not participating inside the classroom? Let's look at some of those reasons today. First responsibility of the teacher, of course, is to fully investigate if the child is facing any learning disorders, learning difficulties, or health issues that might be impacting their performance in the classroom or be restricting their participation in the class. If a child is identified with special needs, then the teacher needs to work in collaboration with the school's special education needs department, devise strategies for that child, ensure that that child feels included. So there is a solution for participation for every child. The important thing is to understand the problem and be able to create a conducive environment where every child feels safe to share. After the teacher has eliminated the possibility of a skill deficit, she still has a lot of fears to explore to ensure that every child in her classroom feels happy to share. So one on top of my list is, of course, a child's fear of failure. So if they come to a classroom where there is very little room for mistakes, where mistakes are ridiculed, mistakes become labels, or are the reason why a child, or are become tools to measure a child's level of intellect, then that is of course not going to be an encouraging point for them to participate. So the way to counter that, of course, is to create a culture where children are empathetic. They understand that each one is on their own journey of learning, that they all have different ways to learn, that they have to contribute towards each other's journey to ensure that all of them get where they want to get. And that kind of an environment can be created when the teacher is one with the learners. If the teacher is also ready to admit that she makes mistakes, and how she owns up to her mistakes and how she handles failure is going to help her children understand that failure is part of life, and mistakes are also part of learning. Poor self-perception and poor self-esteem. These are again reasons why children do not participate in class. Now, if you have a child in your classroom who feels that whatever they have to say isn't really valuable or isn't going to make much of a difference, it is an indicator that they have had a bad experience with a listener or somebody who ridiculed what they said. Also, children who are often compared to their siblings or to other people feel that they are, whatever they have to offer doesn't really meet the standards that have been set for them. So in case of such a child, it is really important to get them into the system slowly and gradually. So one way of doing that, a fun way of doing that, is of course to set up an activity called Get to Know Me. So in Get to Know Me, you're not really putting the stress on the text that you have taught or the curriculum. You're talking about the child. So Getting to Know Me is an activity where children are going to ask them questions about them that are true to them. And there is no wrong answer to that, because what is your favorite color, which movie is your favorite, why do you like it, it's a very soft way to get a child to talk about themselves and start to like themselves, and then asking children to give one comment, a positive comment. The next is, of course, the fear of public speaking. Often children will have the anxiety to stand up in front of a crowd and say something. Once when I asked a child in my classroom what were their fears, he said that everybody's going to be looking at me and I'm going to forget what I have to say. So this immediately helped me understand that I have to take the focus off who is saying to what is being said. And content creation, being prepared, is going to help this child solve the problem. So the first important step that you have to take is, of course, give them a topic that they're passionate about, that they have knowledge about, because you want to eliminate that fear of unpredictability, that fear of I don't have enough information about this to stand up in front of a crowd and talk. The second thing is to help them prepare. So whether they record that many times, whether they stand up in front of a mirror or say it, whether you are the person that, you candidly sit down and talk with them, there are so many different ways to help the child prepare themselves. So once you highlight the importance of the content and how the content is important, what is being said is important. It's going to take a little bit of focus away from who's saying it. And so they will learn to, diminish their own image, in their head, to be able to focus more on, what they've prepared for the public. Another really interesting reason why a child might not participate is because they are gifted. What this really means is that their level of intellect is very high. What you're offering them is not, challenging enough. And somewhere they might have begun to believe that, their peers aren't as intelligent to understand what they are going to say. So in a lot of ways, they become a little selfish about sharing. So to ensure that you don't create these selfish intellectual monsters in your classroom, it's important to create and introduce mentorship programs. So whether it's for reading, writing, a science club, a math club, pair up your gifted writer with another child to help them understand that gifts need to be shared. So if they have a skill set that puts them above the others, then it's their responsibility to share that with the others and make sure that everybody benefits from it. So once that child gets that feeling of acknowledgement, once the child gets that feeling of being appreciated for what skills they have and for making a difference, it's going to be a life learning. And it's a skill that we need to transfer to our children to ensure that we recognize what is special about them and we put to use what skills they have. So in this way, you can encourage them to participate because they feel that they are responsible for other people inside their classroom. There are still so many reasons why children don't participate. I've only listed a few, but the important thing to understand is that when a teacher tells you that your child needs to participate more to improve their grades, what they're really indicating is that they need to move towards active learning. Now, what active learning does is that it makes the child more collaborative in their approach to learning. It makes them a risk taker. They tend to take the risk to ask questions that they wonder about. It helps them become critical thinkers. It helps them understand what is meaningful and purposeful engagement. So to make sure that your children are participating inside the classroom, there are some definite do's. Firstly, creating an environment that they feel safe to share in, creating an environment that is supportive in its approach, so children work towards each other's success, and an environment where there is no ridicule or sarcasm, or the teacher is aware of the importance of their words and how their body language is going to impact their learners. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Please do leave a comment, and I'll see you next week.